Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host, and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up, because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. Welcome back to DubLife Diaries. Now, most people dream about dropping everything, buying an old Volkswagen bus, or at least if you're listening to this podcast, you do, and disappearing down an open road. But there's actually very few people in life that are really going to do it, okay? Today's guest has spent more than a year proving that adventure doesn't require a brand new RV, a six-figure budget, or the perfect plan. All it takes is a 1962 Volkswagen panel bus, maybe a little bit of willingness to embrace the unknown, and absolutely the courage to keep on driving. She's so cool. She bought her first air-cooled Volkswagen at just 16 years old. That decision alone quietly shaped the rest of her life. Today, she has explored some of America's most breathtaking places, from the legendary Going to the Sun Road in Glacier National Park to remote national forests, BLM campsites, whitewater rafting adventures, and Volkswagen campouts all across the country. This isn't just a story about road trips. She's also a talented artist, a hand painter, a pinstriper, whose artwork has actually become part of this culture. She's built an annual Volkswagen campout that's bringing enthusiasts together year after year. This conversation today is going to be about freedom, about creativity, about community, and about why sometimes the slowest vehicle on the road actually creates the richest life imaginable. So, buckle up, because today we are riding shotgun with somebody who's proven that life isn't measured by the miles on the odometer. It's measured by the stories that you collect along the way. I am joined today by Vanessa Cassada. This is DubLife Diaries, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That's quite the introduction there.
You're welcome. That's all you. That's all you. You seem like you're pretty awesome. Thank you for registering.
Yeah.
Thank you for going through the process. I know it's not easy to, I guess, volunteer to have a conversation or to be a public display like this, but I try to make it as easy as I can for you guys, for guests in the Volkswagen community, by providing you with an outline and really trying to take the edge off. So really, that's what this is, just a conversation. Before we dive into this conversation, let me go ahead and give a quick shout out to some of my sponsors. You guys know, first up on the list, Volksmania magazine. You know how I feel as well. Flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. These guys gave me a shot when I was really just looking for some advertising. So I try to rep them every chance I get. Volksmania.com. You can use DubLife10 at checkout. DUBLIFE, the number 10 at checkout. You'll get 10% off your subscription. Also, shout out to Salty Dub. From the beach to the bay, Salty Dub's tearing up the west coast of Florida. But man, I'm excited to announce this today. Just today, Alan and myself, we went to the fairgrounds in Tampa, the Florida State Fairgrounds, to talk to them about an event we're going to organize for the summer of 2027. I'm saying it here for the first time because we just posted about it today. We are going to do an indoor, you heard that right, an indoor camping event that's going to be massive. We got room for like 350 cars. It's going to be indoor. We're going to like set up large TV screens and watch movies, and it's going to be really, really cool because it's hot as shit in the summer. And it's going to be just epic because we're all going to be indoor in the AC. How different, right? It's going to be super different, but everybody's going to be in their cars and in their dubs, and it's going to be dope. So there it is. But we got all kinds of other stuff, swag, events. Check out the website, saltydub.com. Same discount code applies, DubLife10. Last shout out, and then it is back to you, young lady, is Vera Upholstery of St. Pete. Check these guys out. When I say epic builds, I mean it. Just go to their website, check out their Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you can follow them on social media. Do it. Alan is putting out some awesome work. He's got the new automotive line. They are doing some very, very, very serious show-winning, award-winning interiors, not just in boats, in cars, and they are on fire with production. So check those guys out, veraupholstery.com. All right, back to you. You ready?
Ready.
All right. Let's dive in. All right. Let's dive into some of these questions. For people discovering you for the first time, who is Vanessa Cassada beyond the Volkswagen world?
And I feel like you really kind of covered a lot of it in the introduction. Outside of Volkswagens, I love being outdoors. I love hiking, whitewater rafting, paddleboarding, sailing. I love art, as you mentioned. I do hand painting, so I enjoy doing that. Just really anything that I can kind of be active in, I really thoroughly enjoy.
What is it about Volkswagens you think that kind of captured your attention? I know you say you bought your first one when you were 16.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking back as I was preparing for this podcast, like what was it so many years ago? And I have a vivid memory. I was visiting my cousin who lived in a different state and I hadn't seen him for many years. He's like 12 years older than me. So he already had this great car collection by the time I was 16. He was well into his 20s. So I'm visiting him and he's taking me around his house, showing me he had quite a variety. It wasn't just like only Volkswagens, a bunch of different things. And then we got to his garage and he opens the garage doors and there sat this plum purple 19, I can always forget if it's 65 or 67, which I should know this, but plum purple Beetle. And it was like lowered, chrome rims, chrome bumper, just super like all done up. And I was like, that thing is gorgeous. I was always into cars and stuff. So it really caught my eye. And then I noticed he had a for sale sign on it. And I'm like, this is for sale? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'm going to buy that. I want that. And I think he kind of was like, you're 16. Like, you don't have any money. I had already bought my first car. And I was like, just give me like a couple of months. I'm going to buy this from you. And so, sure enough, like a couple of months later, I went and got a loan from the bank. My parents co signed for me and I bought the car from him. And it was like, I had no idea at that moment what that would do in my life. Like you were mentioning in the introduction, I had no idea what that meant for me, like up till now. And it just really started as like, oh, that's a cute car. I didn't know anything about Volkswagens. I didn't even know the different models. Like all I knew was the Beetle. So something about it just kind of hooked me. And then as I got into the community over the years, it's just kept me coming back again and again and again.
Probably never imagined, though, even for a second, that one day you'd be living on the road in a vintage bus doing your thing.
Absolutely not. I actually didn't even know buses were a thing for years. Like fast forward many years, all I knew was the Beetle, and I would take it to car shows and have fun with it. And then I found out about buses. I'm like, oh, those are pretty cool. And then I found out people camp in their bus, and I was like, what? People camp in these things? That's amazing. I remember the first time I saw a single cab, I didn't know that was actually a Volkswagen vehicle. I thought somebody took a bus and in their backyard, like cut it up.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that's how
awesome.
little I knew.
Yeah,
And
that's
then I
great.
like it just this whole world opened up. Yeah, definitely. I honestly think at the time, I don't even think it. I thought it would go past that one car. I thought like, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this car for however many years, and then I'm gonna grow up and life's gonna happen, and who knows what.
So, what does freedom look like for you today compared to maybe back then when you bought that first Volkswagen?
Freedom back then, turning 16, even though it wasn't my first car, technically, it still was like a sense of freedom. I have a car. I can go where I want to without my parents. I can go to the movies, see my friends. But now freedom kind of a similar sense. Like the car just gives you that opportunity to get on the road and go where you want to go. You're going to see places that you don't even know exist until you get there. And not just the big hitters, the big parks, but the small back roads, the tiny towns, like driving through towns with a population of 200 people. Or we stopped a week ago in this town. I think it was Chalice, Idaho, if I remember correctly. I went into this steakhouse and saloon. The population on the sign, I always like read the populations when we drive by because I find it fascinating, these tiny little
Sure.
towns.
Heck
It was
yeah.
like 900 and something. And we go in for lunch. It was us and like two other tables. The rest of the place is empty because it's Tuesday at noon. And we're sitting there having lunch and we overhear the waitress talking to the table like next to us. And you could clearly tell like everybody knows everybody. And they knew we weren't from there the moment we walked through the door. And she's saying, oh, yeah, we got this new truck. You probably saw it. If you drove out of town on that road, did you see that truck sitting there? Yeah, that's the truck we bought. I was like, this
Dang.
is incredible. Just like these little moments that really don't mean anything, but they also like really kind of open your eyes to
Yeah, they really
a
mean
lot of
everything.
people's.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Crazy man. So, and I kind of I relate to that quite a bit actually, because like I said, I spent a number of years out in Colorado myself, 9 years. And, my wife and I, with all of our kids, we homeschool and well, we did. Most of them are finishing high school now. One of them's long gone, already starting in her career, which is turning 21 in December. But we've traveled a lot and not in a bus, not in a vintage bus, but just hearing these small stories about, population and stopping in these small, kind of hole in the wall restaurants, they brought some of the best experiences and memories for us as a family. And just, stopping at the little stream on the side of the highway, that you come to find out that, that little river that you were swimming next to has, super dangerous snakes and all kinds of stuff in it, right? But it just adds to just the whole experience and the story. But yeah, man, I relate to it. I love traveling myself. When people hear that you are traveling the country in a 1962 panel Volkswagen bus, I don't know, man. Like, what do they say? Like, what's the first question they ask you?
I feel like there's a couple of first questions depending on the type of person that's there. Oftentimes they're like, "Oh, you towed it," and I'm like, "No, drove it." And then they're just shocked. They're like, "What? You drove that?" And they're like, "Okay." The other question's always like, "Well, what do you do for work?" or "How do you afford this?" That kind of a thing. When they find out you're like on the go constantly.
Let's touch on that. How do you answer those two questions? What do you do for work? And right, how do you afford to be able to have a life on the road? Because I'm sure anybody tuned into the podcast probably wants to know as well.
Yeah, there's no secret to it. It's a little bit of work and saving. So work quite a bit and save up some money. I was working remotely up until about a month ago, 2 months ago, and I recently quit my job and I'm exploring some other things on the side. My husband does travel healthcare, so
Oh, cool.
he'll take a contract, and so we'll stay somewhere for maybe 13 weeks and he works and we're saving
Oh,
as much as
yeah.
we can and then try to take off the summers to go have fun.
What's your husband's name?
Adam,
Adam. Where's Adam tonight?
yeah. He's sitting right over here.
What's up, Adam?
He can't hear you, but he says,
Oh,
"What's
okay.
up, Adam?"
All
He
right.
says, "Hey." I got my earbuds in, so he
That's
can't
right.
hear
That's
what you're
right. I'm
saying. Yeah,
sorry. Yeah. I'm all
it's all
inclusive.
good.
If he wants to come say
Yeah.
hi, he's more than welcome to.
All right. You're welcome to say hi if you want to.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's touch on falling in love with Volkswagens because we touched on it a little bit. We talked about the first one, but I kind of want to know, like, as a teenager, I actually owned one myself, at 17, fresh out of high school. It wasn't my first car either, but I bought my first Volkswagen was in 96. It was a 72 standard Beetle and it had the auto clutch. I tell this story all the time. The little old lady sold it to me for 2 grand. Only had 70,000 miles on it. It was a great car. It was my favorite car I've ever owned. I got pictures of it. I still think about it all the time. It was such a cool experience and it taught me a lot. Looking back then, I worked at Jiffy Lube and I changed oil and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know a lot about air cooled cars, air cooled culture, air cooled, really anything, right? So it taught me a lot about myself, about patience, about resilience, about breaking down and not giving up. I mean, I had this kind of this motto in my life, especially as I grew even past that car, where if a car ever broke down on me and left me stranded, I was getting rid of it. It's like, rah. But I never felt that way about any of my dubs because like it's almost like they're going to leave you hanging. So it's like built in, right? But I want to know from you, what did owning an air-cooled Volkswagen at 16 kind of teach you as a young teenager?
I think it definitely taught me some of that patience that you're talking about because that first Beetle that I had, I always had issues with it. It was so undependable. I had tons of issues with the brakes. I remember one time I was like so over the brakes not working and they kind of half worked, but I was determined to drive it somewhere that night. So I e-braked it the entire way, like down the interstate and all the exit. I was just using the e-brake the whole way there because I was so sick of not driving it because it was always breaking down on me. So I guess it taught me like, I'm sorry, were you gonna say something?
I was just going to say, all of us that have driven a stick shift Beetle when the brakes fail, or you're having issues with your brakes at all, we all know what's up with the e-brake lever.
Yes,
I was just
at
kind of
least it's
vibing
very
with you.
convenient.
Yeah, I was just
It's
vibing with you.
very,
That's the only
yeah.
way we stop sometimes.
That pretty much got me there and home that night. Yeah. So just kind of taught me like it doesn't always have to be perfect to enjoy it. Just kind of go with the flow, enjoy it, and expect the unexpected at times. You never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, super cool. That's the vibe though, right? That's the vibe. That's the culture. That's the lifestyle. Go with it. Roll with it. Nothing doesn't have to be perfect. And I think getting back into it, I took probably 12, almost 15 years away from the scene to raise my kids and, commit to a life of a career, etc. But, getting back into it, something that was not popular when I was into the scene pretty heavy 15 years ago was patina. I had to kind of
Hmm.
learn that, well, wait, rust is actually really cool now. And I'm like, oh, because, you see them places,
Yeah.
over time, and you look and you're like, damn, how does that car make rust look so damn cool? And like, you don't ever envision that it's like really this big thing, though, right? When I got back into the
Yeah.
scene, I'm starting to notice, like, wow. So just resonating with what you're saying about things not having to be perfect. I think that's our culture, and it's really like
Hmm.
the whole birds of a feather flock together thing. That's really kind of all of us.
I
But
should
go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I should say that's probably one of the other more popular questions I get asked when they find out I drive it all the time or drove it cross country is when are you going to restore it? If they're not a Volkswagen person, like
Right.
it's
That's
already restored,
yeah, that's probably the first ringer that lets you know yeah, you're like, yeah, so I'm not.
right?
That's funny. So interested though, over time, husband works, career, you guys bounce around. What do you think kind of keeps you engaged and keeps pulling you back to, Volkswagens or pulling you back to air-cooled vehicles? We can say collectively, decade after decade. I'd never ask a lady how old she is, but I can imagine it's probably at least a couple decades since you were 16, right?
Oh yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Amen. So what keeps bringing you back year after year or decade after decade to this culture, to this scene?
I would say a huge part of it is the community. It's one of the best communities I've been a part of. I've been a part of different communities for different things, for pinstriping and whatnot, and they're all great. But with the Volkswagen community, it's been wonderful. Like, and especially as we've been traveling around and we're going to places where we don't know anybody, and you put out a message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, or you get invited to a camp out, everybody just made us feel like they've known us the entire time for years. Like we go way back, just so welcoming. Or if you need anything, they're more than willing. Hey, here's my shop. Here's my garage. I have this extra part. What do they're very, very welcoming and they're a lot of fun too. We have so much fun hanging out with everybody at the camp outs.
And mountains, just that whole scene up north, Midwest, West, where you're at, it's just epic, and I know that because spending time 9 years in Colorado, hitting all the trails, hitting all the mountains, having seasons change. I'm back here in flat, beachy Florida where it's hot as snot, during the day. It's so humid and gross. You're like, dude, what am I doing back here sometimes, right? But it's paradise in its own right for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're not shoveling snow in the middle of winter either.
I'm not. And the last time I had to shovel snow, I threw my back out. And about 5 days later, when I could walk again, I went and bought a gas powered blower, like freaking this machine that was like, with this big wheel on the front of it that like threw the snow like 40 feet. I could like eject it all the way out of my own property, hit my neighbor's car if I wanted to. But yeah, no, I don't ever have to do that ever again. And I'm a little grateful, but I gotta be honest, I kind of miss it a little bit too. Having seasons change, letting my kids be able to grab a sled and go, down a hill, just whatever, all that type of stuff was it was, I guess, where I was at in my life and at those times, it was irreplaceable time in travel. I'll never live those times again. I'll never get to, and it's okay. I have those memories, and they'll stay with me forever. But yeah, yeah, so cool. So, how many cars have you owned over time? Volkswagens, meaning.
This will be my fourth one, the bus that I have now.
Okay. Do you have a favorite that you've owned over the years?
I would say the bus that I have now.
Okay.
Yeah. I love it because you can drive it anywhere like any car. It's a lot of fun, but just the ability to go camping in it. The Beetles don't really give you that. I mean, you could maybe do a 10 on top or a 10 outside, but like actually self-contained,
Right.
you can't sleep in a Beetle. So I really love the bus, and you can haul all kinds of stuff around inside on top. So I've used that thing like a
Yeah.
truck. I've hauled some stuff in there.
Yes, I see it back there. I see the roof rack up there. I have a Nissan Envy, big passenger van, and I have a big roof rack up top. And dude, the amount of times I've taken the kayaks, the canoe, the freaking piece of plywood, you name it, it's been up there on that rack. And it's such a convenience to have a
Mhm.
large, roof rack like that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In your life as a Volkswagen hobbyist, was there ever a point or ever a time that you thought about maybe walking away from the hobby?
There was a time where I did walk away. It wasn't so much like I'm done with this, I'm moving on. It was more life circumstances. So I went and I lived abroad for a little while, and it was the first Beetle that I had bought. I left it with my brother, and he was like, I'm going to keep it in the garage. I'm going to take care of it for you. And I was gone for 4 or 5 months, and then I came back to do some work, and I went to his house, and the Beetle was in his backyard, literally sitting in mud, and it
Oh,
was starting to rust on the chrome bumpers and stuff. And I said, that's it. I'm done. You're not taking care of it. I'm going to sell it because I was going back out of the country. So I sold it. And I'm trying to think how many years it went by. It wasn't super long, maybe like 2 years went by. And
okay.
then I was back in the country by that time, and I just missed it. I was like, man, I really wish I would still have my Beetle. I miss it. I miss it. And another Beetle that we found came up for sale. So it wasn't long, like a couple of years, that I bought my second Beetle, and I was right back into it.
Okay. I mean, that could have felt like forever, though. I certainly understand
Mhm.
that. I spent a long time away,